Alright guys, I've had kind of a couple of rough nights, not been able to sleep, and so in busyness with the family and stuff. So we've got about, I think maybe even 3 days of growth here that we're going to take advantage of the efficiency and the kind of high aggression, at least to my skin, of the carbon razor here. And this is even the mild base plate, but my first shave with the mild plate still has it kind of at an aggression level that's maybe a little bit above medium, for me at least. And to help mitigate that, I tried an Astra blade in it before that had a couple of uses. We're going to try another Astra blade, and this is, they're both the platinum. This is one that's got about 20 uses, 21 uses on it, and so that could be a very different experience. Plus the other Astra blade that I tried most recently with it was one of the newer ones that has the etched blade, and I'm wondering if that could give me a different experience. Maybe they changed the grind on that particular blade. Once they changed the etching, if they did change the grind, then it could be a whole new blade. And so maybe, because in one other experience I didn't enjoy the etched Astra as much as what I remembered with the old inked ones. Well, this not only is one with some uses on it, it should be a little smoother, but it should be, it's one of the inked ones as well. So we'll see if that changes anything. And I want to revisit the soap and the brush for similar reasons, because I just used too much last time, twice as much as I really should have. And so we'll use a more normal amount, and then I won't have to fight with it and add as much water, you know, that sort of thing. And we'll see how it goes. I'll scoop it again, but this time be a little bit more careful with it. Love these metal tins here, even if it, and I think it's a decent soap. It may not be the best, but I think it's a good quality soap. And then we'll see if this brown synthetic knot impresses me just as much, because like I've mentioned before with synthetics, if you've got a synthetic that kind of pushes you around a little bit, if you run it with a drier lather that's a little bit less wet, then that might hide a little bit of the backbone of the brush. And so if we have a wetter lather, then we'll see if we get a different brush experience. So I'm going to put the blade in the razor while my hands are nice and clean. And this again was a generous gift from my Lather Games participation. Carbon shaving jumped into the mix and gave a titanium razor. Here's the cool mild base plate. Now this one is kind of skeletal. It's got some cutouts. I don't know if all of their mild base plates are this way or if there are different kinds that they have. I've seen one that was kind of skeletal like this, and it had a slight, it was like a two-tone. You had chrome stuff on the sides here, and then a darker material, a darker coloring, like maybe it was brushed or bead blasted, you know, something like that in the middle. And I thought it was quite attractive. And so I don't know if their base plates are standardized yet, or if they have different versions of the mild base plate, for instance, like the other ones. Okay, so here's my Astra. This is currently my Marathon Astra. I think it's the one that I've put the most uses on. I've given so much time to the NASA that this one only has like 22 uses or something like that. 21, 22. So, mild razor with a blade that's got a good many uses on it, more than a lot of guys might put on their blade. And so we'll see if that smooths it out to help me to perhaps get an experience that I might like a little bit more, a little friendlier, smoother experience with this razor. Well, I took my trusty shave towel here off to the when I did my laundry, and so all the suds and remnants from past shaves are now gone. I couldn't smell them anyway. I still got COVID nose. All right, so during the break I scooped quarter teaspoon, pretty much exactly a quarter teaspoon, And so I'm going to press it into the bottom of the bowl here. Tell you what, this little half circle was really cheap at the Dollar Tree, 1/4 teaspoon measure here, and so it'll do. And that's a good amount to use when you're unsure. But this one, with its little half circle nature, is really tough for me to get my big digits in there. I can't wait to try to find the other one that I had. I did get my face wet also during the break. Let me rub some of that soap off on there. No need to waste it, right? All right, so 1/4 teaspoon has been spread around. We don't have to soak the synthetic as we've talked about before. So I just dipped it in some water, and now I'm going to get rid of a lot of that. As you can see, it held quite a bit. And we'll start working this thing up. And yeah, this synthetic does have a little bit of a bend in the bristles. It must have spent some time in shipping in a hot container or something like that. Many of the knots that are kind of similar synthetic knots, Plasan type, Cashmere, Timber Wolf, Sinbad, they all seem to act very much the same way for me. And so I wonder if they're the same bristles, just maybe colored differently to go with different handles, or whatever. But this one does, my first use, it did seem to be different. And I'm very curious to use this again to see if maybe, because my lather just was too dry before, if it masked some of the properties that I might not like about your typical synthetic, or if maybe this is in fact a different kind of bristle. Looks like we're got a nice little paste going here, so I'll bet it's not going to be a problem. That we'll have plenty of soap for the job here, plenty of lather. Yep, already we have a nice explosion of lather, so wow, I just did not need to, I don't know what I was thinking putting so much soap in there the other day. And so that caused me to not add enough water, and so even on the second pass it was still feeling like it needed some water, and I could definitely feel a drag on the razor because the slickness just wasn't there in the lather. And in the third pass, I finally hydrated enough to where I was enjoying the slickness. We've got 25 milliliters already poured into the lather. I've been working today a little while on getting those time points on my razor denture laid out. It's really going to take a while to do it. Think about a 3-hour video, and I kind of have to stop every minute and type something. So, and then I had some work done on it. I got through like to 1 hour and 10 minutes or something like that, and then my computer did some kind of shutdown, and I was storing that text file in the My Documents, and somehow the computer seemed to restore an older version of that document, and so I lost 1 or 2 hours worth of work. It was very discouraging. And so this time I'm doing it in Google Docs so that it's making online backups as I go, and hopefully I won't have any problems. Now this one does have, see these medium-sized bubbles that you see right in there? And when I say medium, I guess I'm talking 2 or 3 millimeters in diameter. There's a good bit of those in there. They don't necessarily indicate a poor soap. They don't necessarily indicate like too much water, that sort of thing. It's just a product of the soap. I believe this is a vegan soap. And so we're not dealing with tallow. I think it was Warren or somebody was mentioning there was a, coconut oil in here. And that's a common ingredient used in vegan soaps. Well, this is very kind of pillowy, and I just got something in my lather. Where'd that come from? That's a bug. Ha ha. Well guys, here's my first bug in my lather. I don't know if he dropped down from the ceiling or what. Let's send him to heaven. There we go. He's gone. All bugs go to heaven. Alright. So, if you want a good bug in your lather, you need to add about 30 milliliters of water. Man, that is a lot. So you know what LPL must be doing here? They must have a nice concentrated soap base to give me this much lather, to have to use this much water with it, which is very nice. And that's great because it's an expensive soap. And so if you don't need to use a 1/4 teaspoon per shave, then that is, you're going to get a good many shaves per tub. Of course, I can't smell it, but we'll keep trying. We'll keep smelling things, and maybe that'll help my nose to come back. Should I add some more water? I think so. Because I think I learned last time that this base just, it can handle a good bit of water. And if it's too dry, it really does kind of have a draggy feel, and you just don't have that slickness. Tons of lather here. This was in the voting, this was one of the top soaps that you guys wanted to see, and so I didn't mind repeating it again and trying to get it a little better. I'll try to remember to put the voting link in the description here. You can also look back a couple of videos where it says, announcement, poll voting, or something like that. Well, we might be there. We certainly have enough, and it's got a nice hydrated look to it. Let's feel it. It's got some cushion, some kind of a solid feel, a little bit of a solid feel there. There's the actual contact feel when you touch your skin to skin. It almost doesn't feel like it's a very wet, watery kind of slickness, and I have definitely experienced that in some vegan soaps out there, because they just don't have that tallow to help out. But let's just try this out where it is, and we'll see how everything's going to land. I am working on the concept of a video after I go through my den tour for the razors. There were some questions that, because of the flow of conversation, how fast the feed moves, and the fact that I was showing a bunch of razors, there were some questions that I missed. And some of them were pretty good questions, and so I'm going to maybe go through and record those, write them down, and then address those in a future video. I think I also found some of my vintage Gillettes that were, missing from the big video, and so I might, I'm going to do another one that's going to show them, and it can kind of be a supplemental. And I'm thinking about making that live as well, because it was really neat to talk to you guys. And it was great to answer questions about the razors with them being just right at my fingertips. Now the brush here's feeling pretty good. This lather, it is kind of a big fuzzy kind of lather, if I could use those types of terms. It does feel very nice on my face. The brush with its very soft synthetic tips is helping with that, but nonetheless it feels very good. It's a soft lather. You know, it feels like it's gonna be slick and protective. I bet it still could take more water though. But I'm kind of surprised that this brush is feeling pretty good. It's not really shoving me around when I'm making corners and things like that. So, pretty cool. So now, a little bit of an aggressive razor, even with the mild blade, but putting a blade in it that is quite used. Let's see if that makes a difference. In the past, with the Timeless Open Comb 68, very aggressive for me, and some other razors like the F plate on the Carve, the E plate on the Carve, those were made manageable for me when I used a razor with a blade with a lot of uses, excuse me. You can hear kind of that chatter. So it does differ from the Carve, the WR1 type of razors, because those guys lock down the blade a little closer to the edge. Pretty good first pass, not really picking up too much aggressive, but this one has had irritation kind of build up for me over the course of the shave, so we'll reserve final verdict until the end. But that was pretty comfortable first pass, and having such a higher use blade on there might be the key for my success. And again, I want to underscore the fact that it was so generous of carbon shaving to provide this razor as a prize for the Lather games. You know, just because their setup and ergonomics might be a little too aggressive for me, that it doesn't mean it's a bad razor at all. It just means it was geared for guys, and there are tons of guys out there. I'm kind of on the bottom end of the spectrum. I'm down there with guys who like the mild shave experience, smooth shaves, that sort of thing. And I like mid-range too. Yeah, the brush here is doing a great job this time, and that first pass didn't seem to be pasty or slow of razor, so that's very encouraging. Second pass now. The Blackbird was another one that was just a beautiful piece of machinery, but too aggressive for me to enjoy. Charcoal Goods level 1 even, same thing. Just gorgeous engineering, high quality of course the materials, but also just the workmanship and good folks who run the company. And I, especially being kind of a child of the 70s and 80s, have an attachment and one who was kind of fond of the aerospace industry. Really liked the fact that the Blackbird was inspired, of course, from the SR-71 jet Blackbird. And so I really wanted to be able to keep that guy around, but alas, it was not to be. Maybe Shane could make a milder base plate for the Blackbird. Wouldn't that be cool? All right, rinse. Well, after the second pass, I'm thinking I nailed the lather today. Getting a nice fluid movement from the razor, not pasty, not slow. Very happy with that. But yet it has a creamy feel that I'm enjoying. It does feel luxurious. So, and I still have so much. I think the coconut oil sometimes lends to a more puffy appearance, and so that's why maybe it's up like this, like the way it is. And I believe it was. Did I put some? Yeah, I did. Put some water on my face. I think it was Warren who said he was going to give his LPL a try again, and so I can advise to use a little bit less than a quarter teaspoon. You don't quite need a quarter teaspoon, and yeah, I've used 33 milliliters of water. Man, I'm tired. This COVID thing, it just makes I'm able to get around and do stuff, but just kind of a little more tired than usual. All right. Lather feels good. Yeah. This is a good redo. Got things right. The razor definitely feels better. It's the third pass now. I definitely haven't felt that aggression. The previous uses kind of awoke some tenderness. During the shave, and sure, I mean, you know, it's a man can get through that kind of stuff, but you know, we just have so many shaving options that, you know, why do that if you don't need to? And in fact, the feeling of aggression was enough. It affected the quality of my shave. This area where I'm shaving now was negatively affected because of that aggression. I wasn't able to work this area over like for instance I was able to just now, and so I actually did not get as close of a shave. There's some guys out there who use aggressive razors and they say, well, they want that close shave, but in my case, sometimes too much aggression means that I get less hairs cut. Face feels very nicely cut, very smooth. Over here, wonderful. This is the best this guy is shaving. So, you know, could it be because that we switched back to the inked Astra blade? Could it be that we switched back to a blade that had a lot of uses, and so it's been smoothed a little bit? Maybe both are important. We'll play around with it, keep playing it, and that kind of thing. It's a beautiful piece. And I know that guys out there who enjoy that audio feedback as they shave, and there is a big subset of guys who do, and guys who like aggressive razors. I think they're going to find the carved razors to be, I'm sorry, I keep saying carve, the carbon razors to be perhaps right up their alley. So you can see kind of how this brown knot has leaned over. I think maybe it was suspended like this during shipping, and it was very warm, and that heat can make these bristles soft and bendable. In the shave, there were some places where I could feel a slight bias, but in general, it's still you almost can't tell during the shave when it's all lathered up. And so if you ever have one that's bent like that, use it for a while anyway and give it a shot, because likely you won't be able to tell a difference. But these brown knots are very cheap. They're just $8 or so. And so if you have accidentally warped yours somehow, then yank it, buy a new one, and stick it in there. But I think after this shave, for now at least, I'm going to have to say that the brown synthetic is good enough for me. It doesn't offend me like the other ones. the bristles do not seem to shove me around. I don't believe the lather was too thick here. I think it was a good evaluative lather for this brush, and the bristles moved around as they needed to in a comfortable way. And of course, those synthetic fibers, boy, they do a great job of efficiently pulling up soap and mixing it into a good quality lather. Now, you know, we are kind of talking about a cloudy lather with some bubbles in it, but don't fear. Like I said, even if it has those bubbles, it's still and kind of a light looking nature to it. It still felt terrific on the face. Still felt creamy and enjoyable. Felt luxurious. You know, maybe like there might be other bases, of course, that might feel even better, but this is still very nice. And now we know that even 1/4 of a teaspoon, I did 3 passes, and there's 3 or 4 passes still left in the bowl here. And so I can use maybe half of that 1/4 teaspoon, 1/8 of a teaspoon, maybe just a touch more, just to have a little bit of margin, and that's quite efficient. And so, yeah, it's an expensive crope, but at that kind of usage, you're going to really get a lot for your money. And so maybe it'll, by the time you do the math as far as how long it lasts, maybe it's not quite so expensive per shave. So that's a good thing to know. And yeah, the brown. Now, yeah, I'll probably yank it out of this handle because, like I said, it's cheap, and maybe I don't want to have to deal with that curve. But and I don't know if I'll stick it back in this one, or, you know, this brown looks so good. I bet I might have a wooden handle or something that might, or you know, keep my eye out for a wooden handle that this type of brown knot might just really go with in a terrific way. So I'll keep an eye out for that. Post-shave product. Yeah, I do not have the tenderness that I did before with the younger Astra blade, with the etched Astra blade instead of the inked. I don't need a balm to come in and do any damage control. Very cool. Now, I need to use that in the balms. You know what? I'm going to use my Tuscany. One of you guys, I just love how you guys are able to bring in different experiences to the channel here. And one of you guys said there's been some studies done that said that using scents that are familiar to you help there. You know, that seems, you know, there may be a link to helping to heal those neurons, or do that repair at the nerve level. If it's scents that you're familiar with, then it helps your brain and all that. Maybe it helps to make that connection. I do smell it just a tiny little bit. It's not like my smell is 100% gone, and I actually am smelling this more than I have anything else. And it's just been a little over 2 weeks since my symptoms really started to kind of show me that I had COVID. A lot of times people say a month before your scent comes back, so we'll see. But that is encouraging. Maybe Tuscany is my therapeutic smell, right? All right. Unfortunately, it wasn't very popular. They did discontinue it at Stirling. I'm glad I got enough of it to be happy. All right, very cool, guys. Here's a little trivia tidbit. If my shave is getting near the 35-minute mark, you'll probably notice me start to talk a little fast, try to squeeze things in, because right after that point is where my phone reaches 4 gigs in the video size, and it starts recording another video to do another 4 gig spot, you know, and 4 gig is the maximum file size. Well, if I stay under 4 gigs, if I stay under that 35-minute mark, then I can just upload the video right to YouTube from my camera. If it splits it up, then I've got to do a whole bunch of effort to split the file up, because my Wi-Fi network here is junk. and transferring the file over, and I have to use an archiver to split up the file into 200 megabyte pieces. And anyway, it just takes a bunch of work. And so if it gets close to 35 minutes and I'm talking fast and skipping things, now you know why. All right, that was a good shave. All right, so here's this brush all dried out and stropped and things like this. You can see that it's got kind of a natural color to it, where they included some lighter fibers as well as the darker ones. And now it's easy for you to see the kind of bend to one side. Definitely not a thing to worry about if you don't have the monetary ability to or skills to replace the knot. Now if the knot was put in there with epoxy, sometimes the only thing you can do is drill it out. If it's a good resin handle like this one, you can steam it out. I've got an instructional video on there. And replacing the knot is so easy. I use silicone. It's pretty much permanent, but it can also be removed pretty easily, meaning that you can, if you decide later on to put a different knot and swap handles and play around, then you can do that pretty much very easily and cheaply with the silicone. Whereas epoxy, it's a big chore. That's more of a permanent bond. You'll have to destroy the knot to get it out if you use epoxy, right? And so I'll probably do that with this guy. I've used this handle a couple times now, and I can tell you I'm enjoying the ergonomics. It's got the curve seems to be at the right place, and I think I like this these measurements here. Very cool. WildWest. Yeah, WildWest Brushworks, and this was for the this was a limited run, Big Shave Southwest, Phoenix, Arizona, 2019 maybe. Limited run of 25 brushes. That's pretty cool. And I think it's kind of pretty. A lot of times, if it's contrasting colors like blue and red or something, that'll be a little bit too messy for me. But I think perhaps because of the black that you see in there as well. And there's another color mix out there that I've seen on some Shave Forge handles and from over at Yaki and stuff. They've had a similar color pattern as this, but they bring in some yellows, and that totally screws it up for me because what you see now kind of keeps it in one half of the color wheel, and when you start bringing in the yellows, it just looks a little too messy for me. So I think this was a neat. Oh, and you know what? If it's Southwest, well, that kind of explains the blue. Turquoise is a famous color in the Southwest, and of course the kind of a burnt amber type color for the desert out there. So maybe there's some meaning behind these color choices, and that adds a little bit more value to the brush there. In terms of my own enjoyability, I can see why that was done. All right, guys, man, my back is bothering me. I slept an extra long bit this morning. I kind of called in for the first half of work and made sure I got some more rest. You got to do that. Take care of yourself sometimes. I believe that we've covered everything. Something I want to use a Canadian tech for you guys here in a while. After watching my video with all the razors, that's one I wanted to revisit. I know I like the British techs, and I know I like the American techs, and I think the Canadian's probably going to be very similar to the British. But I want to use that one. I've also got this Pearl, new Pearl razor to play around with, and we're going to play with the carbon as well. Got my stainless carve to bring to you guys. Of course, it's not going to perform too differently from the brass carve, but anyway, I think that'll be it for now. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I sure hope that you guys have a good night. I hope there's something in this video to help you out. Take care now. Bye.